Alright, so we've learned how to write test in Ruby using Chef InSpec for Azure resources like storage, key vaults onto Azure using our Ruby config file using the Chef InSpec. We wrote long running files. We also kind of integrated with Terraform for automation. However, we all want some sort of shell interactive shell session wherein we can test our commands or test our methods function before actually putting them into a file. The file is going to be long. Before that, you don't want to run the entire file just to test a small function of that file. How do you test those small functions or objects before putting them onto your Chef InSpec file? So Chef InSpec also provides an interactive shell, which is a pry-based REPL that can be used to quickly run Chef InSpec control and test without having to write onto a file. So this is the functionality similar to any of the shell. That's what we're going to learn and understand how you can utilize and leverage them for your test as well. So before, I've got my terminal open, nothing fancy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Inspeccshell, and that's going to put me under a shell Inspeccshell terminal, and now I can do whatever I want to do using the inspect commands. So it provides us with bunch of help command. So I can just type in help resources, and help resources gives us um, all of the resources which are available. Like you can see in front of you that it starts off with in an alphabetical manner, like Apache, apt, bash, and etc, etc, host, allow, deny, and files also. Let's probably try to understand what you could do with your file command, and let's probably try to understand what all you have under the file resources. So let's suppose you wanted to use the file function. How would you do that? So probably first thing to type is, if you don't know, is help and then the name of your function. So it is file. How do you test it? You test using the file, and it should have certain attributes, like it should exist, it paths, and but these are the attributes which you generally would write in a particular for a module. For writing entire test, you don't want to write the entire file. What you want to do is you want to just test whether the file exists or not. So let's probably, I don't remember what all files I have, but if I just do a file, a random file, I want to know whether it exists or not. What I'm gonna do it I would do is I'm just gonna type in if it exists or not, and it says okay, this file doesn't exist. Had it been the case that it had some sort of existence, it would have just given us a true statement. So if I just exit and do an ls, these are the files I have. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get into my inspect shell again and use the file function, and this time we're going to prove that the file actually works. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use the python app insights.py. First of all, I want to know it exists or not. Obviously it exists, and now I want to know that what all it has. Can you show me the content? Yes, it does give you content. So where do I get all those sub parameters? So what you could do is just use the resources and just use what are the methods we have. So we've got all of these methods. We've got the UID, you've got the file, you've got the version of the file, you've got the source of the file, mount, owner, type, and all of these attributes of your file. You can just use these method type, and you can just run it for any of your file attributes. So yeah, before getting into actual writing your files, you could just do it without actually writing it. Cool. So that was about file. Let's talk about something called as probably packages. So we've got the packages like Nginx package or the Git package or Terraform, whatever package you want to use, whatever third-party libraries you want to use, and you want to understand if they are installed or not. So if you go to the help resources, there's something called as package as well. If you go right over here, yeah, you've got the package, and using the package you could just see whether particular package exists or not. So one of the common example you would see is if the nginx exam exists or not. What it's gonna do is the exist obviously doesn't hold true for this. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just ask whether it is installed, and obviously I haven't got nginx running onto my local server, but I have got a bunch of stuff running, which is git is running on my system, so it should to us true statement. I also have, I work a lot on Terraform, so I also have Terraform running, so it should give us a true also. How about I want to know that which version of Terraform it's running? Just give me the version. Okay, it's running a 4 version. How about Git? Which version of Git it is running? So if you want to test that, just type in the package name and then the version, and obviously it gives you the version of your packages. That was about package. Let's probably talk about another example, something called as YAML, which I could just quickly recall, and my YAML is InSpec. Can I type in the name correctly? Yep, InSpec. And if I do a content, okay, it gives a nil content because obviously the file do exist, but it doesn't hold true. The the content attribute doesn't exist in the YAML, so it gives you, using the raw content, you can just get the content um, of your YAML file. And the best part about the YAML resource in Chef Inspeccshell is you could just attribute, get the key value of your key as well. So if I just type in the YAML resource and the name of your file and dot name, it's just gonna give me the name of my the value of the key which I've typed in as name. Alright, so this is how you could just leverage the Inspeccshell resources and just try out these commands before actually putting them. Quickly just try out and see if the method kind of works for your requirement or your particular use case, and then probably put that into the file, because you don't want to run a long running file. Let's suppose you wanted just to test YAML whether it works or not. You don't want to write the entire YAML again, the chef inspec file, and just run those 100 lines or 50 lines of code and then just check, just to check whether a YAML works or not. This is the easiest and fastest way to get started. I hope this was informative. Thank you.